This is Hawes, the highest market town in England. It's a popular tourist destination known for its idyllic way of life, cheese, Wallace and Gromit, cheese, the beautiful Yorkshire Dales National Park, oh, and this stuff, cheese. Wensleydale, to be exact, which I rather enjoy with a touch of fruit inside, mango and ginger preferably. But today, Hawes, a British national treasure, is the launch pad for a film about another British national treasure, the Aston Martin Vanquish Volante. It's the big dog of the Aston Martin range, sitting above the entry-level Vantage and the mid-range V12. It will cost nearly £400,000 and promises to be the fastest, most powerful front-engine convertible in the world. 12 cylinders, rear-wheel drive, no roof, and curves to die for.
Right, well, I'm sure you want to sit there and watch me eat this monster block of cheese. Priorities. I want to drive this monster V12.
But as lovely as Hawes is, it's really not the ideal place to stretch this car's legs. An epic car deserves an epic road, and just a few miles north of our starting point is one of the very best.
This is the Buttertubs Pass, one of the most beautiful and scenic driving roads in the UK. It cuts a twisting line between the town of Hawes and Thwaite, and is this beautiful sequence of sweeping bends, blind summits, endless moorland views, and terrifying drops. And it's the perfect place to test the new Vanquish Volante, which really is as simple as it sounds. It's a Vanquish with the roof chopped off. But that's a good thing, I'll tell you why. Because the best V12 is a V12 with no roof. Where the entry-level Vantage and the mid-range DB12 use a 4-litre twin-turbo V8, this flagship uses a 12-cylinder monster. That's the heart of the car. And I can tell you straight away, with the roof down, you can hear that heartbeat a lot more clearly. Oh, forget the cheese, have a big slice of that. Wow.
And being a V12, it delivers explosive propulsion, 835 PS and 1,000 Newton meters of torque to be precise. And that gives it a very slight 5 horsepower and 322 Newton meter edge over its nearest rival, the Ferrari 12 Cilindri, the only other V12 Grand Tourer available on the market today.
The Vanquish Volante goes about its business in a slightly different way to the 12 Cilindri. For a start, the Ferrari is naturally aspirated, this turbocharged. The Ferrari also seems to accelerate more quickly from a standstill, 0 to 62 in 2.9 seconds, whereas this takes 3.4. The torque delivery is very different as well. You seem to only get peak torque in the Ferrari somewhere around the red line, 9,500 RPM. But in the Aston, it gives you the full torque, 1,000 Newton meters at 2,500. This car also has a much higher top speed. Flat out, with the roof down, it'll do 214 miles an hour.
But things aren't as simple as just the numbers. Power is sent not via a dual-clutch transmission, but rather via an 8-speed ZF automatic gearbox located in the rear axle, controlled via paddles on the back of the steering wheel.
It's effective, and it does suit the Grand Tourer vibe of the Volante, but I'm just not sure it's quite as involving as what you get in the Ferrari. For a start, you don't so much change gear in the Ferrari as play a musical instrument. It reacts to every flick of your fingers, sending it up and down the gearbox in a way that allows you to manipulate and play the engine like a musical instrument. The box in the Aston is good, it does respond, but it can be a little bit reluctant, particularly when you're shifting down from second to first.
But perhaps that suits the Grand Tourer vibe. You don't always have to attack the scenery. Sometimes it's just as nice to soak it all up. Bask in the beauty of your surroundings, not to mention the beauty of the car itself. The coupe was a beautiful piece of design, but perhaps unusually for a convertible, the drop top might look even better. To my eyes, it's sleek, muscular, with plenty of pretty but functional detail. The grille is 13% bigger than the DBS to aid cooling. Outer bumper vents channel cool air into the front wheel arches to stop the brakes overheating. There's now an 80mm wheelbase extension between the A-pillar at the end of the windscreen and front wheel, which accentuates the length of the car. There are F1-inspired louvres on the bonnet. Side strakes with the Aston Martin V12 badge add a touch of theatre, and at the rear, the car uses a so-called camtail, a back end that's been abruptly chopped off, in this case with an Aston Martin shield across the back that can be customized in a variety of colors and finishes, including carbon. The roof is a K-fold design that opens in 14 seconds and closes in 16 at speeds of up to 31 miles an hour from either a button on the dash or on the key fob. And inside, much the same as the coupe, it's a collection of high-quality materials, tactile buttons, a phenomenal sound system, and the latest Apple CarPlay Ultra, which shows info not just on the infotainment screen, but also on the driver display.
This is supposedly one of the greatest driving roads in the UK, and I can see why. A lot of famous TV car shows were shot on this very road, and a lot of people make the pilgrimage here on motorbikes or bicycles to soak it all in because it is stunning. Not only to drive, but to look at. It's something else, honestly, especially on a day like today. I feel as if the last few Aston Martins I've driven have involved going to quite exotic places, but then being rained on. When I shot the Vantage on Hitler's driveway recently, it was absolutely bucketing it down. But today, I'm in Yorkshire, and this is one of the most beautiful days of the year. It's 30 degrees. Arguably, it's too hot for a convertible. But I'm not gonna moan. I'm just gonna enjoy it and soak it all up because, yeah, it doesn't get much better than this, does it?
While I'm here though, it's probably worth taking a little look at what makes this road so special and giving you some insight into how this legendary pass got its name.
These are the butter tubs. Now, apparently, back in the day, farmers used to take their butter to market, but on the way there they need to stop and keep their butter cool to prevent it from melting. Look at the rock formations, how jagged they are. Look at the waterfall. Look at the impressive depth. They're caused by years of precipitation eroding the carboniferous sedimentary limestone. Now, the important thing to remember about this geological it's a hole in the ground for cheese. Enough said. But there's a lot more to be said about the Vanquish Volante, let me tell you that. First and foremost, it feels like a First and foremost, it feels like a proper GT. You start it up and it defaults to GT mode. And your first impression is that it's just fantastically smooth. It rides on these Bilstein DTX dampers and it just feels so plush over these undulations. Even the harsher stretches of ground, going through those cattle grids, for example, it just seems to soak them all up and take them in its stride. And in case you're wondering whether it's intimidating to drive, actually, not to begin with, because it's really easy to deploy the perfect amount of power that you want. It's really approachable, actually. And it's surprisingly refined, more refined than the DB12 or the Vantage. There's not too much wind noise. I've got an 8-layer roof. I put that up earlier. And honestly, it really does work wonders in making the cabin a really serene place to hang out. It's just a good, solid GT. If you think about a GT as being a really capable mile muncher, yeah, this does that all day long.
Well, apart from a few obvious things, it only has 2 seats. The DB12 has a 2+2 layout, so you could get a couple of kids in the back at a push. The boot has 219 litres with the roof up and 187 litres of space with the roof down. Barely bigger than the DB12, but smaller than the Vantage, which itself wasn't exactly impressive.
So practicality, not the best, but I think you're going to be far too distracted by how much fun this car is to drive to even notice.
It might be a grand tourer, but it's also as immensely capable as you'd want from an Aston Martin.
I wasn't really sure what to expect from this car at first. With 835 horsepower, was it going to be undrivable? Or does the fact that it gives you access to all the torque so immediately at 2,500 RPM, will that result in it feeling a bit lacking in drama? But let me tell you, it's not lacking for drama. It's a monster. Switch the driving mode to Sport or Sport Plus, and the character just changes. The car wakes up. The suspension gets stiffer, the engine and the exhaust get louder, the steering gets heavier, and the car feels altogether more alive in your hands. It doesn't just feel like a GT, it feels like a sports car. And I'm just so shocked at how fast it is. Honestly, it's just savagely quick. It's an absolute monster. One of the issues I had with the TB12 was turbo lag. In other words, when you floor it, you had to wait a few seconds for it to respond. But in this, foot down, gone. It just responds. Not quite to the level of a naturally aspirated engine, but my goodness. The steering is surprisingly good. I would like a bit more feel, but there's a surprising amount of feedback coming off that front axle to let you know exactly what's happening up there, which is just as well, because I can't actually see what's going on up there because the bonnet is so long and I'm sat so low in the car. But honestly, it's a delight, a joy to thread through these amazing twisties. If you were wondering whether this car drives as good as it looks, let me tell you, it drives even better. The driving is the best thing about it. Oh, the speed, the power, the noise, the involvement. Bang on. Love it. The end of Buttertubs Pass. What a place. 5.5 miles of bliss. I get the feeling I would have enjoyed the road in pretty much any car, but particularly this Vanquish Volante. Stunning machine paired up with a stunning road. Right, what do we do? Could sit here and eat cheese or go back and do it all again. Yeah, let's do it again.